Hello everybody, Matias Martinargo here. In today's video I want to share with you my insights about this wonderful study from Matteo Carcassi. We are talking about study number 3. The opening idea of this music is a combination of 4 chords that are displayed as an arpeggio. So what I like to do is to identify those chords and play them as block chords, and after that develop the arpeggio applied to the block chords that I have already identified. First we have this A major chord added 6 that resolves into the 5th of the chord. Then we have E7 chord with G sharp on the bass and the 9th of the chord that resolves into the root of the chord in the first string. Then we have E7 chord sus4 that resolves into E7 chord like sus4 major third of the chord. Then we have A major chord added 9 that resolves into the root of the chord A. So we have tonic, dominant, dominant, tonic. So once I have those chords, what I do is that I applied the arpeggio that I have already studied. What I do is I mute the strings here and I practice the arpeggio. Of course, I'm gonna have to change sometimes between 5th strings and the 6th string to change the bass note. But basically, I'm gonna repeat this structure all across the piece of music. This allows me to have a strong sense of the movements I'm making with my right hand. And then I only have to apply this to the chords that I have already learned. Then we have the following phrase that is really beautiful. If a chord that is not that easy to recognize, it is an F sharp chord with A, the minor third on the bass. But also it has this idea of going through a note that doesn't belong to the chord that resolves into a note that it is the root of the chord. It's a movement that is the 9 of the chord resolving into the root of the chord. Then we have this chord F sharp dominant chord with the major third on the bass, A sharp, and flat 9 here on the 3rd string. Here we had a little change in the arpeggio because we arrived to this B7 chord, sus4, resolve into the 3rd of the chord, and then we arrive to the 5th chord of A major, but as a momentary tonic. Then we go into the second part of this piece of music that we have 2 ideas that are the pedal point based on the dominant. Here we have E on the bass, and then we arrive to E sharp as a major third of C sharp that resolves into F sharp minor. Then we go to B minor with D on the bass, is a tricky one. I'm gonna talk about this chord. It's the augmented 6th chord, and we resolve into C sharp. And then we go back to A major. So this chord that appears to be D7 chord is none other than C sharp, but with flat 5 on the bass. Here you can see the relationship with the same chord, C sharp. And the note D at flat 5, but in the bass. And then we go into C sharp. In the end of this wonderful music, we have a tonic pedal based on the note A. Very interesting because it is the same idea as the opening of this music, but now we are using a pedal that gives this idea of that you are moving from one chord to another chord, but not completely, because we have the same note on the bass. It's like chords are moving like boats on a lake, but it is always the same lake. We go to relative minor, F sharp, minor with D on the bass, and this movement from 9 to the root of the chord. And here we have again an augmented 6th chord. So this chord is B7 chord, D sharp is the major third of the chord, A is the minor 7 of the chord, B is the root of the chord, and F is the flat 5 of the chord. This results into E7 chord, and we go to A major as the tonic of this music. So in this piece of music we have this idea of a subtle melodic movement going through a rich harmonic progression. The melodic movement happens most of the time going from one note that doesn't belong to the chord and creates some tension, and that tension is released when the note resolves into the note that belongs to the chord. So I encourage you to discover each subtle movement of that upper voice and recognize which is the relation with the note of the chord that it is happening in every chord. I hope this video became useful for you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.